Hey, Josh Johnson here. We are tracking storms for you on this Saturday afternoon. It's about 9 minutes after 1 o'clock on a Saturday in February, the 21st day of February, 2026. And radar's pretty active already. We'll show you that in a moment. But the concern here is thunderstorms that could produce damaging wind. There is a non-zero risk of a quick tornado or some small hail. I think those risks are secondary, but they're certainly not ignorable risk. So let's dive straight into it here. I want to begin with a look at radar. Check it out. You see what I see here. We've got clusters of thunderstorms south of Montgomery. Now, look, if you live north of Montgomery, cruise control. You may have a little rain later, but no more storm risk for you. But South Alabama, we've got kind of this little corridor here of showers and thunderstorms that runs from Eufaula back over towards Orion in northwestern Pike County, and then back over towards northern Crenshaw into parts of Butler County. None of this is severe right now. This is all relatively weak, frankly, but it's out there. And what will happen as we go through the remainder of the day, the air down here is a little warmer, right? So we've got warmer air into southeast Alabama. And as the sun heats this air up, it will become even warmer. And as these thunderstorms sort of progress down in here a little bit later on this afternoon and evening, we'll probably start to see a few of them grow a little stronger. Now, the Storm Prediction Center has outlooked a risk of some strong to severe thunderstorms. You see them here. This is their hail outlook, essentially south of a line from about Valley and Lynette we'll call it Tallahassee, to Prattville, to Miller's Ferry and Point South, way down here, kind of the southern section of the state. That's the hail risk. Here's the strong wind risk, exact same area. The tornado risk is a little more confined to the southeastern corner of the state. And this is, by the way, I'll mention, this is the lowest risk of tornadoes that the Storm Prediction Center puts out. So this is not a big tornado risk day, but it is enough of one to where you need to be paying attention to the weather, especially, again, if you live down there in those southeasternmost counties of the state where we have that little better risk down there. Pike, Bullock, Barber, Crenshaw, Covington, into the Wiregrass. So down in here. Like I said, the overall risk level in this is relatively minor, but it's certainly not zero. So that's sort of the lay of the land right now. Is we've got thunderstorms ongoing in the south central sections of the state, but they're relatively weak at this point in time. So here's what it looks like again on the map. Pop you in over here. Thunderstorms, showers down here into these southern counties. There's really not a ton to this. These are relatively weak right now. The air's pretty stable. So I do not see this being some big severe weather episode. Rather, this will be a low end risk of some strong to severe thunderstorms that sort of we deal with as we get into the afternoon and early evening hours. Now, I want to show you kind of the hour by hour here. This is off of the high-res rapid refresh. And I think it has a pretty good handle on the scenario. So we'll flip that over here. There you see it. So if you look carefully, Montgomery is right here. Monroeville is here. You'll notice it has this skinny line of storms. Straight out of the gate, it's already a little too hot, right? We don't have anything on radar that looks like that cell down in Covington. So what does that mean? It means we're probably doing even better than the model thinks here. So this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a little belt of showers and storms, Andalusia Op, Elba Enterprise, Ozark, Abbeville. Here is 3 in the afternoon. Same sort of thing, down into Midland City and Dothan, Geneva, Kinston, Sampson, Florala, over towards Evergreen, Monroeville, Bruton, Escambia, and Fort Stockton, or Stockton rather, not Fort Stockton. Fort Stockton's in Texas. But that's that. Again, this is all straight off of the high-res rapid refresh model. This would all be valid around 3 in the afternoon. Here is the data at, we'll say 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You'll notice we sort of get these lingering storms, these lingering cells down here in the southern tier. This is as late as 6 o'clock, and we'll keep going from there, 7, 8, 9. You've still got storms along the Florida border. It's really not until probably 10 o'clock that this all clears out of that southeastern corner. But notice, too, If you live at Montgomery, Selma, Demopolis, Marion, Prattville, Wetumpka, Millbrook, Pike Road, Tuskegee, Auburn, Opelika, Union Springs, this is all south of you, and we really don't get a lot out of this. This little narrow line of showers you see here is actually the cold front that will bring us a shot of dramatically colder weather later on this afternoon and into this evening. So there you have it. Back to the radar, scattered showers, scattered storms in the mix. You see them here, kind of this, again, this little belt of storms draped all the way from about Warner Robins in Americus, Georgia, all the way to Waynesboro, Mississippi. Our part of the state, kind of right there in the middle of this. So that's where we are as of 1:15 in the afternoon. Now, where are we going after all of that? Well, it becomes a temperature thing then. Much colder air swings into the state as we get into the afternoon and early evening hours. Watch this with me here. You've got this big, and I do mean big, shot of colder air racing southward. Look at this. So this is, we'll go back in time now. We'll set us up around 1 o'clock. This is essentially now 60s and 70s area wide. Okay, here's 3 o'clock, 60s and 70s. Parts of South Alabama get up to 80 degrees. How about that? Okay, then the cold front starts marching in while a lot of you are sleeping, and the temperature just free falls. By 3 in the morning, we've got 40s all the way to Mobile, Monroeville, Greenville, Montgomery, into Lee, parts of Macon, parts of Bullock, parts of Pike, parts of Crenshaw in the 40s. And it just keeps tumbling from there. By the time you wake up, 5 o'clock in the morning, we're in the upper 30s, as far south as Dadeville, Alex City, Rockford, Weogufka, Clanton, Maplesville, Marion, Uniontown, and Demopolis. A little core of colder temperatures right up here in that southern section of the state. So that's where this ends up, and it turns colder quick. There's no way to sugarcoat that. Temperatures will drop pretty quickly as we get into the afternoon hours and the early evening for sure. So there you have it. That's the look at temperatures through sunrise tomorrow. The newest HER is not out far enough to show you just how cold it sort of gets and stays. What I'll do here is switch over to the RRFS from this morning. That goes out a deeper layer in time here. And that'll get us, that'll show you again, the magnitude of the cool down here is pretty quick. Big drop. Take you back down into South Alabama. We'll zoom this thing back in here and center it up there. So this is valid at midnight tonight. And we drop into the upper 30s and low 40s at sunrise tomorrow morning. And then Sunday is a raw, cold day. Temperatures will sort of fight their way back into the 50s. But remember, we were in the 70s and 80s several days this week. So this is going to feel like just a complete and wholesale change for us. We're talking just a significant drop in the number. And it's just going to feel like an entirely different season because of how dramatic this change in temperature is across the state. This is going to, if you let it, quite frankly, this is going to kind of catch you off guard in terms of the changed colder temperatures. And it doesn't stop there. Let's go on into Sunday evening. This is now 6 o'clock. We're in the 40s all the way into Florida. And when you wake up Monday morning, we are at or below freezing as far south as places like Monroeville, Greenville, Laverne, Brundage, Clio, and Eufaula, with upper 20s into the far northern sections of Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chilton, and Chambers up here. So it is raw and cold. This is, again, sunrise on Monday. The other thing we need to talk about here, same time, let's go over and show you what it actually feels like. It's going to be extremely windy in this time frame, so just be prepared for some cold stuff in the mix here as we look out here. You'll notice it will feel like low 20s. The wind chill drops down into the upper teens in those northern sections. Now remember, when it comes to dripping faucets, you don't have to fool with that unless we don't worry about the wind chill, right? We're looking at the air temperature to figure out if you drip faucets or not. It will not be cold enough long enough to drip any faucets Sunday night into Monday morning. We'll keep an eye on Monday night, but my suspicion is probably not then either. So then let me go back to the maps here and share that with you because the fun is sort of just beginning. Monday is the coldest day. Afternoon highs on Monday will do well to reach the upper 40s. Look at this. I mean, we don't get to 50. You have to go to the Florida border essentially to reach a high of 50 on Monday. Most of us are in the upper 40s, mid 40s in the central sections. Some of us will stay in the upper 30s, perhaps, northern Coosa, northern Tallapoosa, northern Chambers. And then Monday night, it will be even colder than that. You'll notice by 6 a.m. Tuesday, we're in the mid to upper 20s. Now remember, to burst pipes, you would typically need to see it be colder for longer than the data I'm showing you here. This would be not pipe bursting cold, but this would be um, noticeable cold. Put it that way. Temperatures will drop into the 40s for afternoon highs on Monday. Will only be in the 20s across the state into Monday night and Tuesday morning. The good news is, and you probably know this already because you've lived here a while, it will not last very long. Check this out. This is the raw run of the European. It's cold Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then look at this. Wednesday, we're back up close to 70. And then we're in the upper 70s, maybe even 80 again into early March. Then I think we'll have another cool down around March 3rd, March 4th. So shots of cold air kind of in the long term, which we'll get into that in just a minute. But I do want to go back to radar here. We're starting to see that this storm's kind of pulsing up a little bit here. And this is out in that West Alabama radar gap out here. But the last few scans, that one's starting to strengthen a little bit. That would be near Beatrice and Vredenburg. That's in northern Monroe County. That's moving east, by the way. So that'll kick on over towards the far southern sections of Wilcox County. I'm talking around Pineapple. And then over into Butler County. We already have a few downpours in Butler County. We'll probably see more of those, right? Coming out of Monroe, Conecuh, and Wilcox. You already have a little rain south of Greenville down towards Georgiana. Ongoing rain moving now through northern Crenshaw, around Petrie, Highland Home, Fuller's Crossroads. That will clip back into southern Montgomery County. So Ada, Sprague, Raymer, essentially that part of Montgomery County right there, you'll likely get some rain and some rumbles out of this cluster of showers coming out of Crenshaw and Lowndes. There's nothing severe in this. There's nothing damaging in this, but I do think you will see some rain. You'll hear some thunder in the mix there as well. Got a few comments. By the way, this one is exclusive. The live today is exclusive to YouTube. Just because I want to do a little more on YouTube, right? I like YouTube. So hi, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Hand pink waving. Yeah. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Hey, Crimson Tide guy. I will pass that along. They will not listen to me, but I will pass that along. Tracy says thanks. Tracy, you're welcome. Yeah. So that's where we are in terms of the storm scenario here. There we go. That's kind of what I was wanting to do this whole time. So South Montgomery County gets some rain out of that. In the Pike, let's talk about you for a while. Showers will tend to favor areas north of Troy for a little while longer. Now, we have a Troy baseball game happening this afternoon. That may be problematic because there's a whole lot of rain back over here. This corridor of rain here is eventually going to get into Troy, Laverne, Brantley, Brundage, and Banks a little bit later on. So we will see an uptick in the rain coverage around Troy. And I suspect our afternoon baseball there in Pike County could be a little bit of a problem. I think we may have some rain trouble to be found there, right? Hope not, but I think we probably will. So I'll keep everyone posted that needs to be posted there. But look, so far these storms are behaving pretty well. Some of that has to do with the air temperature in this whole mix here. It's just not that it is warm, right? But it's not overwhelmingly warm. Troy is at 83, but look at the dew point at Troy, 64. So there's some warmth in the mix there. There's not a ton of low-level moisture. Deatsville, the dew point 64. Temperature in Deatsville is only 66. Alex City 63. Montgomery has 74, but it will turn a little cooler in Montgomery even pretty soon as well. Troy's in there 83 degrees. So yeah, warm enough, sure, but we just don't have a lot of that a lot of the low level moisture kind of supply is just not really there. If the temperature is 84 and the dew point is only 60 or 83 and the dew point is only 64, that's some relatively dry air in the low levels that really kind of squelches storm development to some degree there. So that's where we are now. Let me take you on a little journey. We like to do that because there is going to be a massive situation unfold across some of the biggest cities in America over the course of the next few days. I'm talking a blizzard. How about that? Yeah, an actual real life bona fide blizzard is set to unfold in some of the largest cities in this country over the course of the next few days. Um, so I want to share that with you because I like you. You're fun. So this is the latest run of the RRFS, and I'm going to zero it in on New York and Philly and Trenton, New Jersey. Look at this. So this is Sunday morning, mainly light snow. And then we get this huge storm system that gets cranked up down here south of New York City. And that starts to throw some really heavy snow back in Sunday night. I think you will have thunder snow possibilities, Long Island, the Jersey Shore, up towards Cape Cod. And this is going to drop some massive snowfall totals. I'll show you the raw mapping off the RRFS. It is sizable. A foot, half a foot at New York City, over a foot over all of Long Island. So travel plans up to parts of New England are really going to get not just messy, but just kind of extremely messy. This is going to be a grizzly bear to deal with, I'm afraid, across that part of the world. How about that? So major winter storm up across Philly, Trenton, New York City, and this goes up to Boston too. Look at that, yeah. Cape Cod over a foot. Providence almost 20 inches. Again, this is raw data, but what I can do, this is not, that raw data I'm showing is really not out to lunch. I think that's about the right idea. Let me zoom you in here. The red that you see here, those are blizzard warnings. In most of the big cities of the Northeast, and the winter storm warnings outside of that. And then in terms of the snowfall totals, those are going to be sizable. Again, this is straight from the National Weather Service. So I like these numbers better than a computer model just because these have been sort of quality controlled. These account for all of the computers, right? And the numbers here are massive. Check that out. The explicit NWS forecast for New York City is 17.4 inches of snow. That is wild, man. I mean, I'm talking crazy stuff over here. That is just nutter butter. I mean, that's some real deal snow that we're dealing with up there. So travel plans. Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, this is going to affect a big part of the country. Obviously, a lot of flights in America get routed through Boston, New York City, and Philadelphia, and I think we will have major airport issues at all three. So if you're traveling anywhere, but especially in southern New England, Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, prepare for the possibility of extended flight delays and or cancellations. How about that? Let's get back to the here and the now. I want to keep an eye on radar, obviously, and here that is. Those scattered showers and storms we've been tracking across South Alabama. This is the strongest one now. It's over in northern Monroe County. This has already crossed Highway 41. It will soon cross Highway 21 next. So for those who are unfamiliar, this is Alabama Highway 41 right here. This is State Route 21 here. The core of this storm is right here. It is moving this way. So this will head on up towards Oak Hill, a little south of Oak Hill in Wilcox County, over towards Pineapple, and then this is Butler County over here. So this clips southeasternmost Wilcox, northern Monroe, and then over into Butler County. Now look, there's no severe weather in this storm. It's just it's a downpour. Really not a lot to it, but there will be some heavy rain, and I suspect this will strengthen a bit as we go on through the next 20 to 30 minutes. It's in an area where the air temperature is very warm. It's been warm all day in this part of the state, so my suspicion is we will see a little bit of strengthening with that cluster of storms. Again, that's the one coming out of Monroe County into southern and southeastern Wilcox, northern parts of Butler, And then if that holds together, it could get into Crenshaw where we already have some rain. This cell beginning to tighten up a little bit, show a little more sign of intensification. That's on the north end of Georgiana. Damaging wind would be the concern here. Let me check the velocity signature on this. I doubt there's much. We're so far from the radar. Even if there was something, you're just not going to see much. 20, 15, yeah, it's not going to. You're really not going to see much that far out, but I just wanted to check it just to be safe. What we would look for in this would be a stronger reflectivity core there. Right now, it's there, right? I mean, it's not. Forgive the bad English. It's not nothing, but it's not much either. So that's the deal down in Butler County. Crenshaw, some rain in the northern sections. We're dry now at Luverne and Brantley and Glenwood down to Dozier, but we've got rain up around Fuller's Crossroads, Petrie, and Highland Home. Northern Pike is wet. We've already given you a little bit of a heads up for the Troy baseball game a little later. These back here, the way they're moving, are probably going to clip Troy, right? These are kind of moving a tick north of due east. So this will get into Goshen and Troy. Unfortunately, likely sometime around when that baseball game's supposed to start. So if you have plans to go to the Troy baseball game this afternoon, pardon me, those may get interrupted with some rain. Looks like they're playing today at 5:30. But I do think there will be, at the very least, there will be some rain in the vicinity. Hopefully by then some of it kicks on out of there, but that's not really a promise we're in a position to make at this point because look what's happening back here, right? There's still more. Eventually this will tend to, I think sometime after 5 o'clock, this will tend to hug more of the Florida border down here. But for now, it's a little north of there. So for the Troy baseball game, we're kind of in wait, watch, and see mode. There will definitely be some showers, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. After that, it becomes more of an iffy proposition. I do think they'll get that game in, though, because as we go through the data here, a little bit later on, it becomes a lot more favorable for baseball and whatever else you've got going, right? Let me show you that. This is a different website, but this is the HER, high-res rapid refresh. That just means it's a really good piece of data. Showery rain around for the next few hours. Now, the HER is not very favorable for baseball. That is 6 o'clock tonight, 7 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock tonight. I'm not sure I buy that northward pop there at the end. I think it would probably stay south of there. But either way, look, eventually, if we wait late enough, we would get that game in and the rain would start to lighten up a little bit. But the problem is it may very well take a while before we can kind of get to that point. So that's where we are now. All righty then. So, hey, Josh Johnson here. We're tracking showers and storms for you on a Saturday afternoon. If you have any questions, hop in the comments. Let me see those. Hey, Wells, how you doing? 74 degrees in Tuskegee. It is warm area-wide for now. It turns much, much colder, though, late this afternoon and into tonight. So just be prepared for a major league cool down for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We warm up Wednesday, but Sunday, Sunday night, Monday, Monday night, Tuesday night, it's all cold. It's very windy as well on Sunday and Sunday night. It will feel like mid-20s by Monday morning. The air temperature will be in the 30s, but it will feel much colder than that as we go through this. So we are tracking showers now. There is a severe weather risk in place from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see that here. This is their severe wind outlook. And look, the northern section of this product was issued a while ago, 3 hours ago. You could trim out the northern part of this. There's really no more severe weather risk for the city of Montgomery. I think we're done with that. This is all south of Montgomery now. So that's the severe wind risk. Here is the day one outlook on hail. Same thing. If you live anywhere north of a line from Greenville to Troy or so, I really think the risk of severe weather is ended. South of there is where we would have the concern. The tornado risk is not zero, but it is extremely low. This is 2%, by the way. That is as low as they will draw on that tornado risk map. So that's what we've got right now. Is in terms of that severe weather risk, it is very minor. It's not zero, but it is very minor. Then we turn cold Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we get a big, nice warming trend in the next week. And then let's talk about what happens after that, because look, like I do, lots of months around here can be wild and woolly and weird in terms of the weather. But I don't know that March has an equal in that category, does it? You tell me. Um, so let's walk through this. This is the latest run of the GFS. So let's go out into the long range. So showers around today. Tomorrow, windy and much colder. Look at that. I mean, that is brutal. That's a lobe of the polar vortex centered over Minnesota, kind of a little double barrel with it, little cut off piece of it over Kentucky. And we're lucky it's late February. You had this pattern in January, it would be about as cold as it got back in January. This is a really cold upper air pattern. Surface low bombs off the East Coast. You'll hear that phrase a lot in the days to come, that bombogenesis phrase. That just means this is a surface low that really, really bombs, right? This is one that's going to go very deep, very quickly. And let's do this. Yeah, there we go. So big, deep surface low over here. Snowstorm, blizzard, biggest blizzard they've had in years, I-95 corridor. But we'll leave that to them. Cold again through, this is Sunday night, still cold. This is Monday, cold and dry. This is Tuesday, cold and dry. You'll notice Wednesday, see all these red lines, red dashed lines. That means we're starting to warm things back up. Next storm system drops into the Ohio Valley by Wednesday night. Surface low there, trailing cold front would mean some showers and storms for us into Thursday, the 26th of February. Pretty deep surface low, so I think we would need to watch for some kind of low-end risk of severe weather. Let's check the forecast soundings here while we're out doing our homework here. Some of this, look, guys, what I'm doing right now, this is what I do every single day before anyone watches me on TV or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you watch. So I'm kind of just doing my homework and inviting you along. It's a group project now. We're all in it together here. That would be not a great severe weather look. It's great for us. It's not a very favorable severe weather look. Let's put it that way. Wind fields here, not a ton of turning. There's some. Strong wind aloft. Dew point's pretty dry. I don't think that's a tornado sounding, but I do think that could be a damaging wind sounding. Again, this would be Thursday, a week from 2 days ago. So this would be the 26th of February. And we'll check in a moment. Remember, in the long range, what do we look for? I want to hear you say it. I've said it many times. Consistency and agreement, right? So what I'm showing you right now is just one idea. This is one scenario. That would indicate, look at that. That would be another big snowstorm for parts of New England into Friday, February the 27th. Then a lengthy stretch of dry weather, and then perhaps another shot of colder air around March 2nd or 3rd. Then a big, nice warming trend into March 6th, 7th, and 8th. Now you're getting way out into crazy land. But remember, we look for agreement. Agreement is when two separate models show the same thing, or five separate models show the same thing. So let me show you the European here. Again, Alabama's right down here. I know it can be a little hard to see. I'll leave the red cross right there over us and walk you through what I'm seeing here. So you've got, let's go back to the here and the now. Storms move through. It turns sharply colder. That storm goes up the East Coast and is a massive blizzard along and east of I-95. It is cold here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We warm up on Wednesday. Surface low gets into the Ohio Valley with a trailing cold front by Thursday. So look, there's actually good agreement here between the GFS and the Euro on the idea of some rain and some storms into the second half of next week. Now, this is the sounding off of the European. That is almost identical to what the GFS had. 60s for air temperatures, 50s for dew point. You don't have a lot of instability. Wind fields aloft are pretty intense, though, so you'd have to worry about the possibility of some damaging wind gusts. Again, this is a forecast sounding that you're looking at here. The red line is the temperature as you go up in the air. If it bends left, it's getting colder. If it bends right, it's staying the same temperature or getting warmer depending on how sharply it's bending to the right, right? Um, so that would be pretty good cooling with height. When that red line lays over pretty strongly to the left, that means the air is cooling a lot as it rises. There's just not a lot of low-level moisture in this mix. There are some pretty strong wind fields aloft. These are the winds from the surface up to 300 millibars, which is, several miles up in the sky. So some directional wind shear and some speed shear in that mix, but not a lot of instability. Not unusual for an early season setup here. So I think we would need to at least mention the chance of some thunderstorms around next Thursday, the 26th. That blows through. It turns cooler, not colder for Friday. Whoa, how about that? Then a really deep area of cold air around the beginning of March with some snow and ice possibilities into parts of Tennessee and the Carolinas. Again, this is 10 days out, and the GFS didn't have any of that. So this is one idea that is probably super unlikely. Remember, anything past 5 days, we got to have consistency and agreement before we believe it. So is it an idea? Yeah, but that's about it. Then kind of just your garden variety, shots of cool, shots of warm with some storms in the mix there. Hopefully we can flip the pattern a little bit into something a little wetter. We need rain so badly, you guys. Y'all don't even know, man. This is a tough time of year. If you make it through April and you're still in drought, whoo, man, we're toast to some degree, because June, July, and August, it is almost impossible to make up a drought. Summertime storms are so few and far between. They're very isolated. It's not widespread. A lot of it is extremely heavy rain, which runs off rather than gets absorbed to some degree. So bottom line, it is super important that we get a good bit of rain into March and April. No way to sugarcoat that. That's just the cold hard truth of the thing. So that's the Euro, that's the GFS in terms of the long range. Shots of cold, shots of warm, some storms in the mix. We don't see anything that jumps off the table in terms of a high impact weather event for us here in Alabama, but we will have to keep a careful eye on all those things that are happening. All right. Will all spring and summer call for increased straight line winds frequently? To some degree. As you get into the summer months, that the main concern becomes strong straight line wind, because you start to lose some of your wind shear. The jet stream goes north into May, June, July. So that those strong low-level kinematics, the strong low-level wind fields go north, the strong mid-level wind fields go north. And you get a ton of heat, you get a ton of humidity, you get a ton of instability. So you get these massive pulse thunderstorms that throw millions and millions and millions of raindrops way up high in the sky, and then they sort of collapse, and we call that a downburst. And that's how we typically see strong straight line winds in summertime thunderstorms. There's not enough wind aloft to tilt that thunderstorm, so it rains down into itself, and eventually it just kind of rains itself out and collapses. And when it collapses, it's sort of like if you were to take a 5-gallon bucket of water and dump it off your roof onto your driveway. It hits the ground and whoosh, spreads out. That's the kind of the mental model here for those summertime thunderstorms. So that's actually an outstanding question, Tom. So I appreciate you chiming in with that one. Any more questions? Fire away. Again, we're live on YouTube here on a Saturday afternoon. The reason we're live on YouTube is we do have some thunderstorms in the mix here. We'll switch over to radar. You see them there. The strongest cells right now are all south of Montgomery. And look, if you live north of, we'll say this line right here, you are all good. I'm going to write G-O-O-D, all good right there. And then down in this part of the state, there's still some more showers and storms for you. We will probably get a few more pockets of rain into Montgomery, Tallahassee, Tuskegee, but in terms of the thunderstorm threat, that's really going to stay down here over South Alabama. Some of the stronger cores we're seeing right now, let's make sure. That's a tricky one in terms of which radar is closest. I'm going to stay on Fort Rucker for now. Montgomery may be closer, but it's probably about a wash. So you've got these storms here that are coming out of Monroe and Wilcox County into northern Butler and southern Butler and northern southern Lowndes and northern Butler. I'll get it right in a minute. Pineapple's getting wet now, as we told you it would. Strongest core is close to Beatrice, but that's a little bit of a right mover there, so we'll have to watch that. Sometimes these right movers can do some wonky things, but that cell right there. See on the last few scans here, let me zoom you in. And what I want to do is walk you through this sort of scan by scan. You'll notice there in the last scan or two, the storm out ahead of it is getting absorbed into it, but that one, that cell itself may be taking a little bit of a right turn. So that's something I'll have to keep an eye on. These right turners kind of, to some degree, can start to make their own wind shear, which is something we never really like to see happen. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's nothing to worry about. It's just, again, the point of these live streams is that I'm sort of inviting you along to do the homework that we do on a daily basis on a stormy day. More rain and rumbles into Wilcox County. It's raining around Pineapple, Oak Hill, Awin. That'll go over into northern Butler and southern Lowndes. Then you've got more clusters of rain here into Crenshaw and Butler. Look at that. That may be the strongest cell right now we've got is this one. In the last few scans, that one's pulsing up. So Georgiana, a little first alert here. That storm's popping. This will go just north of downtown Georgiana. So heavy rain, lightning, gusty wind in that mix. And then from there, downstream, this will head on up this way. So staying south of Greenville, but getting over a little move north of 106, south of Highway 10. And eventually it'll cross Highway 10 somewhere, but likely into Crenshaw County, right around the Crenshaw Butler line. This storm will cross there. These other ones are starting to intensify a little as well. Really, this entire belt of storms starting to get a little stronger. I wouldn't call it concerning, though. This is sort of what we expected to have happen, where the daytime sun has been out for a while now. Temperatures are up, right? We were up into the 70s, even low 80s in parts of South Alabama. And because of that, we are starting to see some storm intensification. None of that is unexpected. This was all baked into the forecast of the possibility of a few strong storms, particularly into South Alabama. Let me show you. So this is surface temperatures down here right now, upper 70s and low 80s over most of the southern third of the state. So that's why we're seeing these storms start to intensify a little bit. That makes perfect sense, right? They will move across Wilcox, Monroe, Conecuh, Butler, Covington, Crenshaw, Pike, Coffee, Dale, Bullock, Barber, Henry, Houston, and Geneva counties between now and, say, 5 o'clock. After 5 p.m., these sort of linger along the Florida border. It just takes a really long time to completely kick these things out of here. And I'll show you the run of the latest run we've been watching of the HRRR. Again, that's the high-res rapid refresh. This is valid at 6 p.m. And look, yeah, you've still got a pretty healthy coverage of scattered thunderstorms down here. There's 7 o'clock, there's 8 o'clock, there's 9 o'clock. Again, Montgomery sits right up here. Here's Dothan, here's Andalusia and Opp. So still stormy into the evening hours. It's really not until about 10 or 11 p.m. that we clear this out of the wiregrass. Now, if you're watching this in Pike Road, Montgomery, Millbrook, Prattville, Auburn, Camden, Demopolis, Selma, Plantersville, Lake Martin, this all stays south of you. There's some showers. It's nothing severe. That probably doesn't even thunder. And then you turn a lot colder late tonight. But this, unfortunately, I think is going to be a part of the afternoon and a part of the evening, way down into the southern sections of the state. This is going to stick around for a pretty good while. So we'll watch that storm as it blossoms. Let's look at that one. I told you this one, you're kind of in a part of the state where you're between radars to some degree. Here's the Maxwell radar looking into that same storm. Like I said, there's really not a dime's worth of difference. You're about the same distance away, I think. But still, a couple of things I'm watching. This one could start to produce some gusty wind and maybe a little hail. This one is showing signs of turning more to the right. If that were to happen, you got to be careful with those right turners. The mean flow of wind above the ground, the way we calculate wind shear and all that, I won't get too deep into the weeds here, but when storms turn to the right, they're able to access a little more streamwise storm relative flow. And the storm relative flow changes because the storm movement, the storm direction changes. You get into vectors, right? We love vectors. But bottom line, you have to be careful with those right movers because sometimes they can tap into a little more wind shear than might otherwise be evident. The other thing we're keeping an eye on, these are beginning to intensify a bit. They're writing a little boundary. You see it right here? That's a little outflow boundary from previous storms. So as these move and kind of overtake that little boundary, I suspect we would see more strengthening of the showers and storms inside this box over the course of the next 90 minutes or so. So that's the lay of the land there. Okay, a few more questions. Do you think we will have a hard freeze before Easter? Yes, we're gonna have a hard freeze Monday night. And then I think we'll probably have more cold shots into March. For people wondering about planting gardens, please do not do that. Wait till April 1st if you're a risk taker. Wait till April the 10th if you um, are pretty cautious. If you're extremely cautious, wait till April 15th, tax day. I usually try to, back when I've had gardens, try to do it around the 1st of April, but even that's a risk. We've had frost and freeze issues as late as April 9th, April 10th around here, but that's the exception. 99 out of 100 times, late March, early April is okay, but late February is not okay. We have had snow on the ground here in March, quite a bit of it actually. We've had snow on the ground here in April, back in 1987, but that's a whole nother thing. So yeah, hard freeze definitely between now and then. Is it safe to be in your trailer in Troy today? Yes, it is. We think the tornado risk here is low, but you do need to, if you live in a trailer, if you live anywhere, you live in a home, live in an apartment, you need to have two things: multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings, a plan for where you'll go if that trigger goes off, you get under a tornado warning and your weather radio goes off. I recommend weather radios. Which, oh, by the way, we need to talk about this. It's tax-free weekend in Alabama. You want to save some money on a weather radio? Go buy one. Want to save some money on batteries? Go buy some batteries. Everything but car and boat batteries, essentially, and coin batteries. Those are not tax-free, but your standard AA, AAA, C volt, 9 volt, D, all of that, tax-free. Generators under a certain number are tax-free. If you want to buy a big generator if the power goes out. Cell phone chargers, tax-free. So if you want to save some money on things that you probably need anyway, go shop locally here this weekend on tax-free weekend. This is something the state of Alabama does each year to help promote storm safety and storm awareness and storm preparation. So I encourage you, take advantage of those opportunities, because a lot of it is stuff you're going to want and need anyway. Like I said, it just makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I'm trying to pull up that list of things. The proverbial list of things. That's not really what I wanted. Bear with me, ladies and gents. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to have you a fun list of awesome things. All right, here's your list. Don't you love that? I'll try to make this bigger. I'll post this too on my Facebook. It's already posted on my Facebook page, but if this is hard to see, I've got it pulled up now on my phone. I can see it pretty well. I think you can too. Batteries, cell phone chargers, NOAA weather radios, portable self-powered light sources, including battery-powered flashlights, tarps, drop cloths, ground anchor systems. Hey, you trampoline owners, go buy one. Duct tape, plywood, non-electric food storage coolers, non-electric can openers, artificial ice, reusable ice, first aid kits, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, gas cans. And then if it's $1,000 or less, you can get a portable generator and power cords, right? Have you been on the market for an extension cord? Well, this weekend, let me save you a little money. Go get you one, right? It is, after all, tax-free just this weekend in Alabama. So this ends at midnight, Sunday night. So you've got today and tomorrow to get that done. So storms intensifying as they come into Luverne now. Other showers and storms intensifying into northwestern Butler and northeastern Monroe County. That one between Pineapple and Beatrice is a strong one. The Georgiana storm beginning to kind of fizzle just a bit. Not fizzle, it's just not as strong as it was a scan or two ago. The wider perspective here, this one probably the strongest one in the state now over here in Washington and Clark. Switch over to the Mobile radar. may have something to do with it, but I still think that's pretty intense. Oh yeah, look at that. Actually, a little bit of that looks like a little bit of a probably some mid-level rotation in that. Yeah, sure is. Well, would you look at that? Little mid-level rotation in that storm coming out of Washington and into Clark. That'll pass very near Jackson. That is in Clark County. So keeping an eye on that one. Again, that's just mid-level rotation. Most intense storms have mid-level rotation. The fact that I say mid-level rotation doesn't mean there's a tornado there. It doesn't mean I think there's a tornado there. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means this is a pretty well-developed thunderstorm that we're tracking. Remember, too, this is out in the West Alabama radar gap. So with the low-level data, we're not going to see much on this. I suspect there is some hail up here. I suspect very few people are underneath that right there. That is an extremely rural part of Alabama. This is crossing over the Tombigbee River right now, northwest of Jackson. This will pass pretty close to Jackson, though. The hail core part of this probably stays just a tick north of downtown Jackson. I think it would go about like that. Again, within that box, I think there's the possibility of some hail in that mix. Again, this is in Clark County in southwest Alabama, but it's what I'm watching right now. The possibility of some hail. There is also some mid-level rotation in this. We will need to watch it carefully to make sure that mid-level rotation doesn't extend down to the ground. Let's go into the storm relative here, make sure we're keeping an eye on it. There you see it. Yeah, there's a pretty obvious pocket of mid-level rotation. Now remember, though, you are a fairly long way above the ground here, right? So you got 22 mile per hour, 28 mile an hour inbound wind, and then 30-ish miles an hour outbound, right? So you've got kind of 50 miles an hour worth of rotation in the mid-levels right there. But again, I got to stress to you, this is sampling that storm several thousand feet above the ground, 3, 4, 5,000 feet up. So that's why there's not an active tornado warning on this, is because that rotation is happening pretty far above the ground. But happening it is. This would be some rotation right there. West of Jackson. This is right now in Washington County. This will move into Clark, though, within the next 20 or 30 minutes. So rotation happening now, southwest Alabama. In the mid-levels, all that means is that's called a mesocyclone. That's not a tornado. That's not tornadic rotation. That is just a pocket of this storm that is rotating. Most mature thunderstorms rotate. The fact that we're saying it's rotating doesn't mean you need to go to a safe place or anything like that. It just means we'll watch it and see if it starts to strengthen. Again, when you're looking at rotation, to some degree, it's like looking at long-range model data. You need to see consistency. You need to see that same rotation scan show up in several scans insofar as the storm moving forward in time, right? That rotation needs to be persistent. It needs to last a while. It also needs to be deep. We need to be able to see that rotation occur in the thunderstorm from the lowest radar scan up through the mid-levels, right? Right now, we really don't see that. We see some mid-level rotation. But that's going to move into Clark County and then downstream, potentially Monroe County. So that's the kind of the most intense storm that I see on the entire map right now would be down there into Washington and Clark. So got a close eye on that one. Again, that is in southwest Alabama. There is no formal tornado watch, warning, or anything of the sort. And there probably will not be. Understand, this is a low-end severe weather setup. I do have a brand new, hot off the press, day one outlook to share with you. And really, I had already kind of told you this in passing that the severe weather risk was really going south. But check this out. This is the new day one outlook issued just minutes ago by the Storm Prediction Center. It is far south Alabama, really from Monroeville to Greenville to Troy to Eufaula, and points south from there over the course of the next few hours. This is the overall risk of severe weather. It's a level 1 down here in the southern counties. Here is the risk of damaging wind, same exact area, southern counties of the state. Here is the hail outlook, same thing. And look, with the tornado outlook, they moved it all the way over here. So they're not overly concerned about a tornado. And quite frankly, neither am I. This is really more of a damaging straight line wind scenario that we're tracking coming out of in South Alabama. keeping a careful eye on the storm along the Washington-Clark line. Now, from a my full-time job scenario, this is not the WSFA coverage area, right? Washington and Clark County belong to Mobile from a weather service and a TV perspective. Um, those would be really, I think, Meridian would cover that to some degree. I know when I worked in Meridian, we covered Clark County, Alabama, but really more, I think Mobile would really be what the area of responsibility. But digitally there are no DMA television coverage areas, so we'll watch it and tell you what we think is going to happen with it, or I'll tell you what I think is going to happen with it. There is still some rotation in this. It is not terribly intense rotation. Let's see how it's performed over the last. If anything, I think it was a little tighter a few scans ago. Again, that's a few scans ago right there. And look, as you move this forward in time, the green and the red sort of start to shear out a little bit. So I would tell you, I think this was probably a little more put together in terms of rotation a few scans ago. The other thing I notice here is the hail core part of this is coming south a little. Now that means either the entire storm is becoming a right mover, or the forward flank downdraft is sort of pushing itself out in front of the mesocyclone, which would mean this thing's going to occlude and weaken pretty quickly in terms of its rotation, which I suspect is what will happen. So what we're looking at here again is right here, west of Jackson. You've got 23.5 mile per hour outbound winds, 18 or so. So look, this is not some crazy spinning storm, but there is some mid-level rotation in this. And then there is likely some hail right up here. And I mean, probably dime to penny sized hail. Nothing massive, nothing terribly damaging, but enough to get your attention if you live here, which most people do not live here. This is an extremely rural part of the state down here along the Tombigbee River in Clark and Washington counties. Back to the east, let's see what's happening back over here with some of these other storms. And we'll get off of the Mobile radar because it's simply too far away. Montgomery is probably our best look in, so we'll go back to that. I don't know, it's 50-50. Let's actually audible on that. I want to go to Fort Rucker because the storm's coming into Pike. Fort Rucker will definitely be closer, and that's where I want to end up. So you see them here. There's not a nickel's worth of rotation in any of this or this. Just downpours, gusty wind. Could there be some like pea gravel sized hail? Yeah, I guess. But I think it's a real long shot. I think the main concern here would be just a pocket or two of wind. If you live in Troy, it's about to pour. This is all coming out of Crenshaw and into Pike. So heavy rain, sure. Maybe some thunder, lightning, and gusty wind, but I don't see anything dangerous. Then you'll get a break in Troy, and then you'll have to deal with this back here a little later on. All of this back in this area, all of that's going to come east as well as the afternoon fades into the evening, and we'll have to deal with more of these scattered showers and scattered thunderstorms. If you're watching this anywhere from Montgomery north, this is all over. You might get a little leftover shower or something later on, but the big story for you is the shot of cold air that arrives overnight tonight into tomorrow. So, no big hook echo, that's right. No comma head, also right. My man Wells paying close attention. I love it. Hey Wells, how you doing, buddy? Adam's got jokes. What the hail is going on? And that's hail, H-A-I-L, as in ice cubes falling from the sky hail. So there you have it. All right, I'm going to wind this thing down. We've been streaming this live for about an hour now. I will keep watching those storms in southwest Alabama. Right now, we don't see anything tornadic or even terribly dangerous. This is more in the kind of the common sense realm, right? Let's take one last look. Yeah, the rotation on that kind of shearing itself out. I think that forward flank downdraft's probably starting to eat the storm a little bit, kind of occluding it. It would need to turn, the whole thing would need to turn right for the mesocyclone to maintain its inflow of warm, moist air. And right now, I don't think that's happening. I think the storm itself is on a pretty consistent east motion. And the forward flank downdraft part of it is just sort of you're getting a pool, essentially. All this rain and hail that fell up here is creating sort of this pooling of colder air. And it's cutting off the flow of warm air from the south. So eventually it will sort of choke itself out to some degree, right? It's the theory. The only way that won't happen is if the entire storm sort of starts to bend more towards the right as it moves forward. So far, we don't see any signs of that happening, but storms don't always telegraph what they're going to do. So I'll keep a careful eye on that. All right, everyone, as always, thanks for hanging out on this YouTube live stream on a Saturday afternoon. I'm going to get back to some family time. Hope you do too. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay warm. Look, I don't want to hear that you didn't know it was going to be as cold as it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We have been banging that drum harder than John Bonham with Led Zeppelin. So you should know by now that it is going to turn sharply colder Sunday into Monday and Tuesday, and then warmer after that, maybe some storms into next Thursday. We've got plenty of days to look at that, though. Have a great rest of